In 1941, a grand dream turned into a dazzling disaster on the Las Vegas Strip. The Flamingo Hotel, meant to be a luxurious escape, opened with huge fanfare but quickly sank into trouble. Just weeks after it opened, the once bustling hotel was nearly empty. The man behind the dream, Bugsy Siegel, closed it down after just 4 weeks. He planned to fix the problems by completing the construction, but it was too late. The costs had spiraled out of control, reaching around $6 million, far more than the initial plan of just $1.5 million. This massive overspending made the hotel's bosses furious. They suspected Siegel of stealing money and thought his girlfriend was smuggling it out to Swiss bank accounts. With his dream crumbling, Siegel's time in Las Vegas ended violently. On June 20, 1947, 6 months after the Flamingo reopened, Siegel was shot to death in his girlfriend's Beverly Hills home. One bullet shattered his eye socket. With Siegel gone, the Flamingo found new life under the shrewd management of Gus Greenbaum and Dave Berman. They turned it into a hive of glamour, drawing top stars and big-name entertainment. The hotel became a star itself, setting the pace for Las Vegas' exciting new identity. They brought in famous acts like the Andrews Sisters, Abbott and Costello, and even the comedy duo Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis. These stars demanded top-notch entertainment, pushing other hotels to step up their games. The El Rancho Vegas, for instance, booked big names like the Ritz Brothers and the legendary Joe E. Louis, who became a regular attraction throughout the 1950s. Meanwhile, the Last Frontier Hotel introduced Vegas to a new talent, Walter Liberace, the flamboyant pianist. His performances lit up the stage and captured the imagination of the crowd. As more stars flocked to Las Vegas, the city held onto its rustic charm. Downtown Fremont Street was full of old-time charm, with a honky-tonk feel. It was a far cry from a bustling metropolis, but had its own unique appeal. People loved the simplicity and the Old West vibe, as singer Mel Torme recalled, comparing it to the wild frontier towns of old Arizona. Despite the glamour, Las Vegas was still growing fast. By 1948, a new hotel, the Thunderbird, opened with a Native American theme and headliners like Nat King Cole and Ella Fitzgerald. Then came the Desert Inn in 1950, a grand resort that marked a major step forward. Built by Wilbur Clark, a former hotel worker who managed to gather investors, the Desert Inn was a modern wonder. Its opening was a big deal, showcasing Las Vegas as an entertainment destination on par with gambling. As Las Vegas bloomed, it also became a hidden haven for organized crime. The casinos offered a perfect cover for money laundering and skimming cash. It was an open secret that mobsters like Moe Dalitz invested heavily in the city, bringing in top entertainment and keeping things under control. They made sure to maintain a facade of normalcy, ensuring no violence marred the city's fun. This arrangement was so accepted that even Senator Est Kefauver's 1950 hearings on organized crime had little immediate impact. While the hearings brought national attention, it was the crackdown on illegal betting elsewhere that really pushed Las Vegas into the spotlight as a safe place for gambling. By late 1952, Las Vegas was thriving. 2 new hotels, the Sahara and the Sands, opened in quick succession, bringing even more glamour and stars. The Sands in particular was a marvel, thanks to its savvy manager Jack Entrater. With ties to New York's nightclub scene, Entrater brought in big-name acts like Frank Sinatra and Dean Martin, turning the Sands into the go-to spot on the Strip. Journalist John Gunter noted that Entrater transformed Las Vegas, making it a city pulsating with glamour. The city's growth was rapid and dazzling, turning it into a must-visit destination for those seeking the bright lights and big dreams of Hollywood. In the 1950s, Las Vegas was booming. The city's population grew from a small town to a bustling metropolis. More people were visiting than ever before, 8 million tourists each year. This was a huge change from just a few decades earlier, when only a few thousand people lived there. The Strip, the main street where all the fancy hotels are, was lined with 7 big resorts. Even more hotels were being built. The top entertainers of the time flocked to Las Vegas. They knew that performing in Vegas meant big money. The hotels could afford to pay them well because they made so much from their casinos. In fact, the hotels would spend tens of thousands of dollars each week on stars like Frank Sinatra and Marlene Dietrich. Yet they charged guests very little to watch these big names perform. Often there was no fee at all to see the show, and even food and drinks were cheap. This was something that nightclubs in other cities could not match. At first, the hotel owners thought they might run out of top talent. They worried that if they kept competing for the same big names, there would soon be none left. But Las Vegas found a way to keep the shows going. They started bringing in new kinds of acts. Comedians who were popular on TV, like Red Buttons and Phil Silvers, came to Vegas during their breaks. Hollywood stars who were past their prime but still wanted to perform, like Betty Hutton and Ginger Rogers, found new life on the Vegas stage. Even famous singers who were big in New York and Los Angeles made the trip to Vegas. They knew a performance there would help keep their careers alive. Sometimes the bookings got really interesting. In 1954, a struggling actor named Ronald Reagan tried his hand at nightclub performing in Vegas. His act was not very good, but it was part of the fun and unusual atmosphere of the time. Another notable act was Broadway legend Tallulah Bankhead. She didn't sing much, but her sharp wit and dramatic reading skills stunned the audience. She did it all for the money, as she said, for the loot, of course. Even someone like Noel Coward, a famous British writer and performer, found success in Vegas. He wasn't there to entertain, but to make money. Despite his initial reservations, he had a huge hit at the Desert Inn. He was surrounded by celebrities like Frank Sinatra and Humphrey Bogart while performing his witty songs and jokes. Coward himself called it one of the most sensational successes of my career. By the mid-1950s, Vegas had become a symbol of fun, glamour, and excitement. It was where Hollywood stars came to marry and where movie makers set their films. TV hosts even brought their shows to Vegas, always with big-name guests. The city felt like a place where anything was possible, even during times of worry like atomic bomb tests in the nearby desert. People saw Vegas as a place of fun and escape from the serious world. The shows in Vegas followed a standard pattern. They started with a chorus line of showgirls, followed by a comedian or a singer, and then the main attraction. Performers usually did 2 shows each day, one in the evening and another at midnight. At first, shows were short, about an hour, so guests wouldn't be away from the casinos for too long, but then the Sands came up with a clever idea. They made shows longer, running for 4 weeks instead of 2. This way, they could keep booking top acts without having to pay them as often. The only rule for the performers was to keep their acts short, usually under an hour, so guests could return to gambling. One of the big innovations of this time was the lounge show. These were smaller performances in the bars and lounges near the casinos. At first, the music played, there was just background noise. But then some smart hotel owners realized they could turn these lounge shows into main attractions. By doing this, they kept people gambling longer because the entertainment never stopped. This idea helped make Las Vegas even more special and kept the casinos buzzing all night long. In the heart of Vegas, a new kind of show began to take shape in the 1950s. The Mary Kaye Trio was one of the first acts to really make the most of the lounge setting. This group, made up of Mary Kaye, her brother Norman, and Frank Ross, found a clever way to work around rules that said lounges couldn't have singing or talking. They simply moved their act to a special area of the hotel, the Gay 90s Lounge, which was separated from the casino. At first, lounges were quiet places where people just listened to music, but the Mary Kaye Trio changed that. They brought in comedy and interaction with the audience. Frank Ross, with his accordion and funny jokes, made the shows lively and fun. People loved it. They would come just to hear the trio after midnight, and soon the lounge was packed. This was the start of something big in Vegas entertainment. The trio was special. Mary Kaye was a fantastic singer and guitar player. But it was Frank Ross who really made the act shine. He could play, sing, and make people laugh. He would tell jokes, make up songs on the spot, and even get the audience involved. One time, he made a drink for a funny-looking man at the bar, and everyone loved how he turned it into a show. Lorraine Hunt Bono, who grew up in Vegas and became a leader in the state, said Mary Kaye could play like a man. She was amazing. Comedian Pete Barbuddy said Frank Ross was the best lounge act he ever saw. He could make anyone at the bar part of the show. This kind of act became the norm in Vegas lounges, with performers mixing music, comedy, and audience interaction. The Mary Kaye Trio wasn't just about singing. They helped shape a new style of entertainment that mixed music with comedy and audience participation. This style allowed for more freedom to experiment with different kinds of music. While singers in the main showrooms stuck to popular songs, lounge acts like the Mary Kaye Trio started to play newer sounds like rock and roll. Freddie Bell and the Bellboys were one such act. They introduced Elvis Presley to his famous song Hound Dog in 1956. Another important group was the Treniers. This black group mixed rhythm and blues with swing and was one of the first to use the term rock and roll in their songs. They were fun and energetic, making people feel great. The Treniers were a group from Alabama, started by twins Claude and Cliff. They had a playful act with lots of dancing and funny props, like a big wooden razor they used to tease each other. They even had a funny song about suitcases that became a hit, but life was tough for them offstage. Las Vegas was very segregated in the 1940s and 50s. Black performers like the Treniers couldn't stay in the hotels where they performed. They had to live in separate, often bad, places on the outskirts of town. They couldn't eat in the hotel restaurants or gamble in the casinos. Even big stars like Sammy Davis Jr. had to use kitchen entrances to come and go. This was because many of the hotel owners wanted to please their visitors from the South, who didn't want black people around. Stan Irwin, who worked at the Sahara Hotel, said they had to use a trailer as a makeshift living space for many artists. It was a sad reality, but the Treniers and others kept on performing, bringing joy to audiences despite the challenges. The Mary Kaye Trio and acts like them changed Vegas entertainment forever. They showed that lounge shows could be fun, interactive, and full of surprises. This style allowed for new music to be explored and made audiences feel part of the show. Even though black performers faced tough times offstage, their music and energy brightened the lives of many. The legacy of these early lounge acts continues to influence entertainment in Vegas and beyond.